Hello chess fans, this is Rick from Chess to Impress. Less than 2 weeks now, only 13 days till the World Championship match between Carlsen and Caruana will kick off in London on November 9th. On Chess to Impress we have been building up to this great match by looking at the previous 46 events for the World Championship. We have arrived in a new millennium, in the year 2000, where World Champion, the classical World Champion Garry Kasparov defended his title against 25-year-old Vladimir Kramnik, also from Russia. As I explained in previous videos, the chess world has been cut in two. There were now two organizations who organized a World Championship. The World Chess Organization, the FIDE, and also the Professional Chess Association, the PCA. But the PCA ceased to exist in 1996 after its main sponsor, Intel, withdrew its support. Kasparov still saw himself as a true world champion, as did the majority of the chess world. Kasparov won almost every tournament he entered. In 1998 it was announced that, based on ratings and results, Anand and Kramnik would play a challengers match. Anand declined as he was involved in the FIDE cycle. Alexei Shirov from Latvia was next on the rating list, and Shirov beat Kramnik in a challengers match. Quite a big surprise that was. But negotiations fell through with Shirov and later with Anand. Kramnik was then next on the rating list, and the negotiations between Kasparov and Kramnik were successful. A company of the name of Brain Games was formed to finance the Kasparov-Kramnik match. The match was then played in London over 16 games. The number of games steadily declined over the years, from 24 to 20 and now 16. We know that Carlsen and Caruana will only play 12 games. It was interesting that here in the year 2000 we were back to the situation from before 1948, when a world champion chose his own challenger. And here we see both players in action, the challenger Kramnik on the left and world champion Kasparov on the right. The first 9 games saw 8 draws and a win for Kramnik in game 2. In this video we're going to look at game 10. Let's get into it. So the challenger was 5-4 ahead after 9 games. Kasparov could not break through Kramnik's Berlin Wall when he had the white pieces. In this game Kramnik is white, Kasparov is black, and the game was played on the 24th of October in the year 2000. Kramnik opened d4, knight f6, c4, e6, knight c3, and Kasparov placed the Nimzo-Indian defense. Queen c2 is what Kasparov had expected, according to his second Andrei Kharlov. But Kramnik played e3, and Kharlov said this knocked Kasparov out of whack. He played this game almost as if he felt doomed. I'm using the analysis of this game from the book From London to Elista, written by Yevgeny Bareyev and Ilya Levitov. So e3 against an Nimzo-Indian, not expected by Kasparov. He castled, bishop d3, d5, knight f3, c5, a lot of tension there in the center with these 4 pawns. Kramnik castled and Kasparov solved the tension by taking on d4. E takes, and the other pawn was also taken. Bishop takes. Bareyev, Kramnik second, writes here that this is one of the main variations in a Nimzo-Indian, and that its distinguishing characteristic is the abundance of variations for both colors on every move, and a lack of clear direction in the assessment of the arising positions. The Nimzo-Indian is a jungle. Kasparov played b6, Kramnik bishop g5, bishop b7 and rook e1. Kasparov's second Kharlov said that they had devoted quite a lot of attention to the Nimzo-Indian in their preparation, but that this rook e1 move had not been part of that preparation. Knight e5 is a more dangerous alternative, writes Bareyev, and that may be what Kasparov's team had been focusing on in their preparation. But rook e1 was played. Kasparov developed his queen's knight to d7. Knight c6 is more in the spirit of this line, says Bareyev, explaining that black then wants to put that knight on e7. Also bishop takes c3 can be played, but why strengthen the opponent's center, writes Bareyev. So knight bd7 was the choice of Kasparov on the 11th move. Rook c1, both players already had used up a lot of time to try and remember all the details of this line. Rook c8 from Kasparov. Many other moves are playable. For example, h6, bishop e7, and also taking on c3, as Bareyev explains. But rook c8 was Kasparov's choice. Here, Kramnik played queen b3, where bishop d3 is the main alternative. And after queen b3, you can take on c3, that bishop is hanging. But Kasparov decided to play that bishop back to e7. Here Kramnik took on f6, and Bareyev writes, this is the only way to play for an advantage. Kasparov took back with the knight, and now look at this move. Suddenly there is bishop takes e6 in the position. Where did that suddenly come from? Here Kasparov should have played rook c7, and Bareyev gives many variations. I'll show you what happens if white just retreats the bishop after winning the pawn. With bishop c4, he has won a pawn, then bishop takes f3, g takes, bishop d6, rook cd1, bishop f4, knight e2 hitting that bishop, and knight h5 protecting that bishop with excellent compensation for the pawn, writes Bareyev. But in the game, rook c7 was not played by Kasparov, which is the best move. He played a bad move. He took the bishop. Kramnik took on e6 with check. Is check, and he's going to win the piece back on e7. Two pieces are attacking that bishop. King h8 and queen takes e7. With two extra pawns for white. But now it's black's turn. Kasparov took on f3. G takes, and he took on d4. White has an extra pawn, but that is a doubled pawn. Knight b5 from Kramnik, strong move. Bareyev is convinced that Kasparov had underestimated this move. And here's an important moment. Kasparov decided to take on b2, restoring the material balance. But now the queen is too far away, and white has a strong attack. What he should have played is queen d2, attacking this rook with two pieces. So rook takes c8, rook takes c8, knight d6. The black queen is keeping rook e1 under attack. The queen is also attacking the knight on d6, which restricts the options for white's queen. And also the black queen can return to g5 or h6 if necessary to help defend black's king. As Bareyev writes, black doesn't lose by force, which cannot be said about the move in the game. The move in the game, as said, was queen takes b2, taking that pawn. Kramnik took on c8, rook takes, and knight d6, attacking the rook. Rook b8 from Kasparov. Bareyev writes, there was already no satisfactory defense. We're only on move 21. Kramnik gave a check. King g8 only move. And queen e6. Let's see what white is threatening here. Let's just make a very bad move for black, just to see the threat from white that black has to deal with. If we play a6, which doesn't make any sense, then there is knight h6 check. That's a double check with queen and knight. If you go to f8, then the game is over straight away. This is checkmate. And if you go to h8 instead, then there is queen g8 check. Very nice. Queen sacrifice. Rook takes and a smothered mate. Another way to win is play knight d8 check. Then king h8, queen e8 check. Another queen sacrifice. Knight takes, and this is also checkmate. So that is the threat after queen e6. h5 is the most stubborn move, but also then white wins with knight g5, discover check on the king, king h8, and queen f5 with an irresistible attack, writes Bareyev. The rook will join the attack through e7. Kasparov did not play h5, he played rook f8 to deal with white's threats. But then there was knight d8 check from Kramnik, and king h8 is really the only move, and queen e7 was actually the last move of the game. Kasparov resigned here, and Kramnik won this game in only 25 moves. What a crushing blow for the world champion. Why did he resign? The rook on f8 is hanging. You cannot go to e8 because of queen takes, knight takes and checkmate. You also cannot go to g8 because then this is checkmate. You can also not protect the rook with the king because then there is knight e6 with mate threats on f8 and g7. White wins. And finally, if you take the knight, then there is queen takes check, knight g8 and queen d5 protecting the pawn on a2. White is an exchange up and black queen has been looking at all this from afar, all the way from b2. That really was a bad square for black's queen. A crushing blow for Kasparov. Bareyev writes, even for a world champion, creativity in unknown and complicated conditions can lead to an opening catastrophe. Try to recall a game in Kasparov's career that's worse than this. Kramnik had taken a 2-point lead and Kasparov was not able to recover. He kept banging his head against the Berlin Wall. In game 13 he already conceded a draw after only 14 moves. The match was over 16 games and after 15 games Kramnik had reached 8.5 points and he had overthrown the Colossus, as is the title of Bareyev and Levitov's book. Kasparov's reign had ended after 15 years as world champion and Vladimir Kramnik was the 14th classical world champion in the history of the game. There was talk of a rematch for Kasparov, but that never came to fruition, and it was 4 years later that Kramnik defended his title for the first time against the Hungarian Peter Leko. And we'll look at that match in the next video. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, please subscribe to the Chess to Impress channel and please leave a comment. If you liked the video and if you liked the series, it would be great if you could share it on social media by clicking the share button on YouTube. I hope you will keep counting down towards Carlsen-Caruana with me. This is Rick for Chess to Impress. Thank you for watching.